I really enjoy how Shedeur played at the end of last season. Us quarterbacks, we get a lot of credit, too much credit when we win, too much blame when we lose. And we almost like hoops as I'm getting into the NBA playoffs. And sometimes teams think a singular guy wins and loses a game within a basketball game or a hockey playoff game.
Last year from Shedeur Sanders. I'm telling you, Shedeur went out there and listen, he went out there and dominated. Shedeur Sanders dominated last year with no first team reps. Bunch of bag ups on the offensive line, just like Bernie Kosar.
A storm just hit Cleveland that absolutely nobody saw coming, and it has nothing to do with the weather off Lake Erie. Bernie Kosar is officially done playing the role of the quiet legend, and his latest warning about Shedeur Sanders is shaking this organization from the inside out. What Kosar is saying right now sounds like a straight-up emergency alarm, and it has the fan base split right down the middle in a way we haven't seen in years. The pressure on the Browns front office is exploding, because this isn't just another hot take from a media analyst. This is coming from the man who knows the weight of that jersey better than anyone. So, the real question we have to face today is simple. Are the Cleveland Browns about to ignore Bernie Kosar's warning and make a massive, irreversible mistake with Shedeur Sanders? Or is the media just manufacturing drama to fill the off-season silence? You need to stick around, because we are about to pull back the curtain on what actually happened behind this shocking warning, and why the anybody but Shedeur narrative is starting to look like a desperate lie.
Limited talented roster around him offensively. He certainly made plays, so he deserves to be in this mix, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Shedeur get this opportunity.
Bernie Kosar is pointing at a fundamental truth that most people in this league are simply too terrified to say out loud. He's breaking down the entire system that sets quarterbacks up to fail. We see it every Sunday. The quarterback gets every ounce of the shine when the scoreboard looks good, and they carry every ounce of the poison when the wheels fall off. That is the cycle. That is the system. But Kosar is flipping that thinking on its head and telling everyone to stop treating football like a solo sport. It never was. And when you look at Shedeur Sanders through that specific lens, the entire story of last season changes in a heartbeat. Think about what we actually witnessed. No first-team reps, no clean pocket, no perfect protection. Just a young quarterback stepping into a chaotic situation with backups on the offensive line and still finding a way to control the game. That is what stands out here. Not the excuses, not the NIL noise, but the raw, unpolished output under extreme pressure. Kosar is essentially saying that the world missed the real picture because they were too busy watching the depth chart. While everyone else was arguing about rookie status, Shedeur was out there showing a level of command that usually takes veterans a decade to master. Still looking like he belongs, even when nothing around him is stable. This is where things get heated for the Browns management. A quarterback performing like this without a supporting cast tells you more than 1,000 stat lines ever will. It tells you about control. It tells you about mental fortitude. And now, Kosar's warning hits like a ton of bricks. If Cleveland ignores those signals, they aren't just making a roster choice. They are setting up a mistake that could haunt this franchise for the next 10 years. The conversation isn't calm anymore. It's turning into real, suffocating pressure. But it gets even deeper when you look at Kosar's assessment of the roster Shedeur was forced to work with. He used a very specific phrase that should make the front office cringe: void of talent. Kosar isn't trying to be mean, and he isn't trying to get in trouble, but in the spirit of raw honesty, he's calling it like he sees it. The Browns' offense last year was not balanced. It was not loaded. It was short on talent in key spots, especially on that front line. In that kind of environment, 99% of young quarterbacks fall apart. They lose their footwork, they stop trusting their eyes, and they start seeing ghosts in the pocket. But Shedeur didn't fold. He stayed in the fight. He kept pushing the ball forward and creating explosive moments when nothing around him was clean. That isn't luck, and it certainly isn't just hype. That is elite ability shining through terrible conditions. Now Kosar is taking it a step further, and this is where the volume gets turned up to 10. He's saying Shedeur deserves to be in the mix now, not after a few years on the bench, and not after learning the system behind a veteran. He's hinting that the Browns might need to pull the trigger early, and that is a massive statement coming from a franchise icon. This flips the pressure right back onto the critics, who have been rooting for this kid to fail. Because if a rookie can walk into a void of talent and still make professional-level plays, then what exactly are the doubters still complaining about? The hate is starting to look empty, and the arguments against Shedeur are crumbling. Kosar isn't guessing here. He's pointing at a wide-open window of opportunity. If Cleveland is smart, they see it coming before it turns into a disaster they cannot fix. Because let's be real, if they choose Deshaun Watson over Shedeur Sanders, after what we saw in the film last year, the fan base is going to lose its damn mind. Watson hasn't looked like a steady, reliable answer since he arrived in Cleveland. That is the hard, cold truth that people keep dancing around. Inconsistent play, missed timing, and a complete lack of rhythm for long stretches. For a team that has improved its roster through free agency and the draft more than anyone else in the AFC North, wasting that upgrade behind shaky quarterback play makes zero sense. The whole debate is getting ugly because it's no longer about theory, it's about results. We are watching two different realities. On one side you have the Watson reality, which looks like uncertainty, big contracts, and plays that never quite connect. On the other side, you have the Shedeur reality, which looks like opportunity, quick decisions, and a quarterback who actually fits the direction this roster is moving toward. This isn't just a normal training camp battle. It is a full-scale identity test for the Cleveland Browns. Fans are tired of the same old stories. Former players are starting to speak louder, and the film is not hiding anything anymore. When Watson is under center, the offense feels stuck. When Shedeur takes the snap, there is movement, there is control, there is a sense that the plan is actually being executed. In a division like the AFC North, where every week is a physical war against Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and Baltimore, that difference is a matter of survival.
If they choose Deshaun Watson over Shedeur Sanders after what they have saw on the field, on the films, and what Deshaun Watson have did since he been there with the Cleveland Browns as quarterback, look here, the Cleveland Browns just gonna Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns just gonna continue to be the Cleveland Browns. The quarterback that gives them a better chance of winning is Shedeur Sanders. The fan base want to see it. Listen, some of the former players, they want to see it too. And I know Todd Monkey is on record saying the players on the team will determine who will be QB1. If that's the case, Shedeur Sanders will be QB1. Now, let's look at the AFC North with the teams that are in there. Pittsburgh Steelers, Cincinnati Bengals, and the Baltimore Ravens along with the Cleveland Browns. When you look what the Cleveland Browns have done this offseason for as free agent and the draft, they have improved their team the most out of any other team in this AFC North.
The Browns cannot afford confusion at the most important position on the field. They need stability, and they need it yesterday. This division is not soft. Every single mistake gets punished by the Ravens' defense or Joe Burrow's precision. Wasting the talent they've assembled because they're scared to move on from a massive contract is the most Cleveland move imaginable. That is why the anger is building. Fans are already saying it out loud. If they pick the wrong direction again, they aren't getting out of this cycle. They're just repeating it with a different year on the calendar. Shedeur Sanders looks like the clean break they keep ignoring. He looks like the reset button that can finally align the quarterback play with the high-level talent on the rest of the team. The pressure inside that building is building in a way that is becoming impossible to manage with PR spin. You can practically feel the instant regret radiating from the decision-makers whenever Shedeur makes a play that Watson simply can't make anymore. This is a straight comparison that is getting harder to dodge with every practice rep. Watson is no longer being judged on his potential or his past glory in Houston. He is being judged on the production in front of everyone's eyes. And it isn't matching the level of expectation that came with that record-breaking deal. Meanwhile, Shedeur is being looked at as something entirely different. Not a gamble, but a solution. A fresher start, a cleaner fit for Todd Monken's system. When the answer starts to look obvious to everyone outside the building, but the people inside are still hesitating, that's when you know a mistake is waiting to happen. If the Browns really ignore what is sitting right in front of them, then this is just another chapter in the same old Cleveland tragedy. Shedeur Sanders is right there, looking like the stronger, safer, and more explosive answer, while the noise around him only gets louder. Todd Monken is on record saying the players will determine who the starter is. If that is actually the case, if it's based on merit and not on money, then Shedeur Sanders will be under center on week 1. Bernie Kosar saw it, the former players see it, and the tape doesn't lie. Now it's on the front office to prove they've actually learned something. So, now I'm putting it on you. Do you think Cleveland finally makes the smart move and hands the keys to Shedeur, or are they about to ruin another chance by forcing the status quo? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because this conversation is just getting started. If you want more raw, unfiltered breakdowns like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and stay locked in. We are covering every single move in this quarterback war. Until next time, keep your eyes on the tape.